When you're out of your body, you see time for what it really is. You experience past, present, and potential futures. Your soul can create anything that it desires to create. The universe is not dictating that soul. That soul is the consciousness which is dictating the universe and creation all around it. This particular universe, this construct, was created to experience that which we are not on the other side. There is a base level reality there. Your soul, your body, is the ultimate piece of technology that if you command it, your cells will start to express themselves in that way. There's a lot of stuff still being hidden from the people. There's an Antarctic treaty for many different reasons. Hiding structures, craft that are there, technology. You're looking at races that people call ETs, but they're not even ETs. They have technology to make a true Garden of Eden on Earth. And when those things are revealed to people, will be a biblical event on many fronts. My one message over all else would be, as you're a child, you're already naturally tuned in to where you come from, home. And since it's already there when you're younger, and if it's not shut down due to upbringing and parenting, the education system, and suppressing that, it's very much always present. And so seeing certain things at that age is, you could say, when I went into a bit of fear, panic, shut it down for a long time. Yeah. Now going into 12, 13, or even younger than that, like you're talking about 7 years old up to 10, 11, 12 years old, it was all about the discipline of training to turn on gifts. This will be things like reading people's energetic fields at a young age, making sure that was always there, tuning into you could say, awakening the dormant abilities. Like you look at something, you try to manipulate it in some way. So that was already always there as a child. So that's sort of important to understand, because it's not something that just went, okay, this is, awakening, because it's always been there for me. 16 is when the Celeste experience happened for me. And you could say that was the biggest experience that then catapulted everything, because at that time, I already had a lot of questions that I wanted answers to, because I already knew the control structures, etc., through the system that were here, the enslavement of people, you could say, because people are not free here physically. The soul is free, but the physical body, you could say, is in a state of slavery. It's just modern day slavery. So at 16, I asked to be taken out of this place to know it all. Otherwise, I was going to figure it out regardless. And so I'll just leave the statement at that. And that's when I was shown everything for the first time again. I was shown the beginning of, you could say, myself, even though there wasn't a beginning to me, the creation of this place, how time works. And coming back from that, I could not articulate it. I could not explain it to you. And if you were to ask me that at that age, I would say it just felt like this. Felt like almost like a wave of joy that almost made me want to explode. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, why aren't you acting like that now? Why aren't you joyful? Or whatever. I'm not bringing that through. It's because once you do these through the years, it just becomes your life. Yeah. Because you're tuning back into that all the time. And so all the way from 16, all the way to present date, they've been happening constantly, all the time, and remembering again, getting access, you could say, to home, what people consider home. And this is something to really, I feel it's very important to understand, because a lot of people are seeking truth. They're seeking a truth. And just like your soul has a spark that will create things within your life, the same with truth. There's a foundation to truth, and that's what a lot of people are seeking. And through all of this, you could say the number one truth is returning back to your home again, to remember that, because that's your divinity of where you've come from, where you will always return back to, and it is your true state. And when you remember that in love, then you could start to bring that here. What they call about heaven coming to earth. You could literally bring that here within your reality. So yeah, to the best of your ability anyways, with everything that's all the other stuff that's here as well. So
Could you even go as far as saying that death actually, we've got it a bit backwards by ways of actually it ought to be celebrated to some degree because you're actually returning home to your family.
Exactly. So people think of death now where it's something sad. And actually, anytime when I hear somebody go through a near-death experience, or they have the first out-of-body experience, or even if someone close to them has died, that is a very exciting thing for me, because I could directly tap into that individual and make them remember where they come from. And that is part of the mission of what I'm doing. Part of the work that I'm doing is to not allow people, but to trigger people to remember that. Because when someone's passing or they die, you could ask them the simple question, well, where do you think they went to? Or if they were about to die, if you were to die, where do you think you would have gone to? And then they'll start asking, saying, oh, I think this and I think this. I think I will go here. And I say, stop thinking for a moment. Like, just tune into what you feel would happen to you. And automatically what happens, even without coming out of the body, you could tune that individual back to its original state, back to its home of remembering. Because then that individual will start thinking of its own version of heaven. Because on the other side, everybody has their version of heaven. And typically, if you are in the heart of unconditional love, here, because your heart is a toroidal field, electromagnetic field. And when that is activated, you could say it holds the power of the sun, what is considered a stargate. And that could bring through your heaven here, and you use your brain as just what it's used for, decoding things. But your heart is the thing that creates everything, pretty much. And your heart could create the most hellish experiences, but also ones in unconditional love, too, depending if you step out of it.
Yeah, the engineer in me can't wait to get into the electromagnetism of the heart with you. But just before we dive into that, you use the word remember a lot in terms of it's an opportunity for us to remember. Even in your mission statement, it's home, and it's like remember. Obviously, there's a whole conversation to be had around remember what, but even first principles to that is the veil of forgetfulness. What function does that serve, in your opinion?
Okay. So this goes back to what I was told a while ago, that this, and also experienced too, that this creation, let's just say the construct, replace the word construct for scientifical terms as universe. So this particular universe, this construct, was created to experience that which we are not on the other side. So this is where you get the illusions of through the body only, of pain, suffering in that way, where you can imprison the physical body, you can't imprison the soul. You have the illusion of birthing and creating a new soul, not necessarily how it is on the other side. So you have all of these creations here to experience the opposite of who you actually are. And with that also comes the unforeseen events. Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily supposed to be quite like this, the extremes quite like this. It was supposed to be a gradual process of forgetting to remembering, stepping back into your divinity, your love, and allowing that frequency that will create everything around you to manifest your heaven here in the earthly realm. You could say the first heaven, round 1, is the first heaven out of 12 heavens within this construct. Yeah.
It's interesting. It sounds a bit like not as dark, but it almost sounds like we're in the upside down from Stranger Things. This is there's you mentioned realms, and so I think it's useful to provide the rest of our conversation context to explore the construct a little bit. You mentioned you can sub-construct for the word universe, almost one for one. Are there other universes? Are there other constructs? Where have you been in around that? And then you often talk about there being 12 different realms. I know there's a lot of questions fired at you all at once, but maybe
no, that's
all
cool.
That context could be super helpful. Yeah.
No, that's okay. So when I talk about the 12 realms within here, so this construct, this universe. So you know that we have a 12 helix DNA pretty much. 13 if you really add them all together. But right now we're only using 2. Now, if you look into the information as well, we have 13 dimensional structures within the brain. And typically when people come back from a near-death experience or even an out-of-body state, you'll find that some of their, what science calls DNA, becomes more active. You get another strand turned on. Some portions of the brain, the dimensional structures in the brain turn back on as well. Because the physical body was perfectly created based off this construct design, 12, 13 being the container of the realms. And you could call them, I call them anymore 12 heavens to make it very simple, because you have the earthly realm, what you could say is the first heaven. And the second heaven is what people call the celestial bodies above. That would be the second heaven. The third is where you're tapping into things like beings that have disappeared from this plane of reality, and you would call them, just in short, Anunnaki. And then you have the realm of Eden, which is another, you could say, the fourth heaven. Then you have the cathedral heaven. You have the angelic heavens. And it goes all the way up to 13, pretty much. The 13th being the container, as I said before. In the bodies, we're supposed to, based off who we are and without all the suppression of everything that is on the physical body, we're naturally supposed to tap into all of these things very easily. And when you're younger, you do. And then they call it imagination or whatever, you see, and you suppress these abilities and they become dormant pretty much. And then to go back to what you said as well with the other constructs, are there other constructs on the other side? Yeah. There's many of them, and they're all created by the will of the soul, each individual soul. So on the other side, when you're out, let's just say outside of this known universe, and you're completely out of it, there is a base level of reality there. And another way to look at that base level of reality is imagine that you're walking down a town, and you have the road and the sidewalk is base reality. And left and right hand side, you have houses, homes all over. Let's call those constructs universes, you see. And so when you go into that particular construct universe, it has a certain template, certain rule set based off the individual soul inside that house of the template that it lays of what it wants to experience. And so when you're truly out of here, your soul can create anything that it desires to create based off its will, desire, pleasure, love. And that's what we do. We've experienced so many things on the other side based off of what we love to do. And so this is where we are now. This one was created to experience the opposite of that. And when you look at this, and I know this is maybe I should try to give a little bit more clarity to this too. Like, yes, unconditional love is you. It's all of us. It's the core of who we all are, because you cannot have unconditional love with a judgment. But you could also say, in order to truly understand unconditional love, you would have to have experienced the opposite of it. Yeah. Like, and some people don't want to hear that, but yeah. Because once you experience the extremes of what it is not, and you experience the unlovable things, then you truly start to step into a state of understanding fully and completely unconditional love. Fully. When you talk about loving everything and everyone around you, and you're in that state, you would have had to experience those unlovable things. And this is where you go into spirituality in new age stuff. They would want you to lay down your armor in a sense and stepping out of the true frequency of love, because love is very much a weapon too, man. It will pierce through everything. It's the thing that creates everything in creation itself. Yeah. And it's expressed many different ways. So I'll leave that there for now. Yeah.
I think the extremes make the conversation extremely prickly, but even to dive into the conversation with a little.
Can I stop you there too?
Yeah, go.
I'm not necessarily saying either. A lot of times when I say that, and I try to give a lot of context, but a lot of people when I say that, so then you are in agreement with the most horrific things here. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it's in terms of you could say understanding, you could say seeing it from that state, I could understand it. I could understand it and understand that soul where it's at because it has fallen out of love. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I forsake my love for it, because then that would be the opposite of love. It's no different from a parent and two children. Child one does all the right things. Child two does everything negative, horrific. But you'll never find the parent not loving both of those children.
You inspired souls. Thank you to all of you that are subscribed to this channel. Everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to the channel. Thank you so much for your incredible love and support. To all of you that haven't yet subscribed, please do take a moment, consider doing so. And also, if you're willing to act on that, the button below, subscribe button, is lighting up in the colors of the inspired evolution as I'm saying the word subscribe. Please hit that button, hit the bell notification icon. Like I said, it helps us championing love, positivity, and wisdom around the planet. Thank you so much in advance for your incredible love and support. With that, back to Darius in today's episode. Even just broaching the conversation from a less prickly place, which is conditional love. And just, I think it gives us space to just understand the dynamics of, well, I'm going to use the word construct because I'm here with you, of this construct is like everything is conditional. And it's like, oh, but I swear the love I've got for my kids, touch wood. And it's like, yeah, but if you break it down to binary ones and zeros, everything, and like you said, this is the upside down. And this is what I've been learning a little bit recently, is that as unconditional as we want to be, it's almost like the fabric is woven into, like, condition is part of this design, right? One of the other questions in regards to that was the nature of this construct, because you mentioned other constructs are generated through free will. Or through will. I'm not sure you use the word free. Oftentimes I've had spiritual teachers come on the podcast and refer to this universe being one driven by free will. Is free will something that transcends just this construct and goes into the others? What role and what are the dynamics particularly of our construct, and what does another construct potentially feel/look like that gives us context in terms of how things could be different in different constructs?
Very similar to here. Yeah, it's the templates seem to remain the same in a vast majority of them. But to answer the free will thing and the freedom, is like it could just be summed up in this way. Like there are, I always say three, because there are three things that are constant, the unchangeable laws of creation in all things. And one of those things are, you cannot have ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation. And so when you really feel into that statement, your soul here right now, even when you leave it, is not limited. There's no limitations placed on you of that which you can do based off your will. And what your will is your will of your soul. Pretty much whatever it desires to do has the authority to do so. And by limiting the soul, then automatically you put judgment on that soul, and then you also break the other law of the universe, which is you cannot have unconditional love with a judgment. So you cannot say you're unconditional loving, but then condemn and judge somebody for doing their ultimate expression of freedom. Because at the same time, the universe is not dictating that soul. That soul is the consciousness which is dictating the universe and creation all around it. Do you see what I mean? Yeah.
Run that back. Say that again. So just slower. Yeah, go again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just that last bit. Just the last bit about the person in the universe and the.
Yeah. Okay. So your soul, the universe is not dictating your soul. consciousness, your soul being consciousness. Your soul, your consciousness is the dictator of the universe. And usually ask it as a question. Do you believe that the universe dictates consciousness, or consciousness dictates the universe?
It's interesting because my mind is having a boundary problem here, because I do identify somewhat there is consciousness that we're experiencing, but then nonetheless it feels all of a sudden, the way we've framed it up in the conversation is like, okay, but then my consciousness is dictating what's happening in the universe. But then this concept of my gets a bit slippery, because then it's like, well, what about yours? What about the next person's? What about the next person's? There's a collective experiencing that we're having.
There is a collective experience, but each individual soul is creating their own experience. Me and you right now could be in the same room having the same exact experience, but we will experience it two different ways based off the consciousness of where we are.
Yeah, siblings. This happens to siblings all the time. This buzzes me out. Like, now that I'm a little bit older, you reflect back and I'm listening to like grandparents and like in the family talk about like different relative members, and they've got completely different recounts of their personality types, what happened in what situation. And I'm like, were you guys in the same situation? They're like, yeah, legit. And I was like, I can't believe there's like two very different stories happening right here. It's a total trip. It's a total trip. Yeah.
I mean, you take a toy away from a child, the child's going to have a breakdown. You take it away, that same toy away from an adult, it's not really going to care. So that's the same experience experienced in two different ways based off the consciousness of that individual.
Talking about experiences being experienced a different way, I think there's a question for present, and maybe you can answer that, is like, when you're traveling through having these out-of-body experiences, and I think there's probably more space where I should be asking more questions about the actual experiences and what they feel like. But nonetheless, if you're traveling out there, is it disconcerting for you when you're moving through realms and potentially meeting angels, or like, do they see you? Do you see them? And that would be the natural question. But then the question I've got, this is how trippy I can be, sorry about this, or not sorry, is it disconcerting for them to meet a human? Like, do they look at you and go, hey, where'd you come from? Like, yeah, does it go both ways?
No, because they hold no greater authority than you. Like, you right now, if you were to die and meet one of these beings, they hold no greater authority over you. The only thing that they do, because they understand the three laws of the universe. You can't have unconditional love with a judgment, ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation, nor can you, or consciousness dictates the universe. So all they do is they recognize the spark and the divinity of God within you. There's no difference. It's not like, oh, you are human, because we're not human. You could say even the angels right now, we even hold all of the DNA from the 12 realms within the physical body. That's why we have 12 helix DNA. That's why we have 12, 13 dimensional structures within the brain, because the body has all of that, you could say, that within it. So yeah, it's not like that. Yeah, it's very, very, you meet them, they recognize you. And sometimes based off the individual soul, because just because a soul comes here doesn't mean that somehow they're lower either, because some souls have come here with such, I'm going to use this word lightly, but masters in a sense, just based off the accumulation of experience, and they're here. And so when they leave here, they're not looked upon as, or anybody as, oh, you are below. It's 100% equal through and through, and it's very physical. It's the out of body state, man, is it's more physical than what you experience here right now in physical life. And the best way to understand that is, through your you said, I don't know if you said analytical, but you said engineering. Yeah. Okay. So the brain could only decode a certain portion of the light spectrum. Yeah. And so we call this
0.003%, something very slivery. It's just a sliver that we've got.
You could expand this to more. The physical body can access more. But right now, majority of the population is only accessing that small portion of it. And we call this very real, very physical. But when you leave the body, you are seeing all of it again. You're accessing everything. You're accessing the potentialities of time. You're accessing thoughts. You're accessing the true state of you. And that is more real, more physical than what you would ever experience here. So, yeah. No, just when you say what that is, that's what it is. It's very physical, man. You'll be touching your soul hands and experiencing it as if it's very, very real. And then when you go back into the body, real doesn't even feel real because you could say experienced real again for the second time, born again for the second time, understanding that is the real home, your real state. You see? Yeah.
Is an out-of-body experience similar to a near-death experience? Are they one and the same? How does, in your experience,
absolutely the same. Yeah, absolutely the same. There's no difference between these two things. And when you look at it has been actually pretty challenging for me to try to re-educate people on this, because it's come from a place of, when you think of out of body, you think of astral. And I've been trying to re-educate this process of this is not what it is. Because when someone has a near-death experience, their soul's leaving their body, 100%. When you have a true out of body state, you're 100% out of your body. So you don't necessarily say to somebody that has a near-death experience, oh, you just astral projected to the other side. It would sound comical, ridiculous. You see, so the only difference with the out-of-body state and the near-death is the near-death, you are essentially, the body's dead. Yeah. When you're in the out-of-body state, your body doesn't die, but you do dip down the heart rate to a certain point. So, for instance, when you are in the process of shutting down your body, your heart rate will start to dip down. Now, when your soul leaves the body, and I have people observe me, other people are practicing this as well. When the soul leaves the body, your heart rate and your physical body will even dip down a little bit further.
Hey there, guys. The episode dropped out for a quick moment, and Darius actually asked us to leave that part in and not edit it out. So we've decided to honor that wish because it is Darius's episode after all. And so, yeah, stitching it back together, feeling into the next part of the conversation when we returned from the dropout.
Yeah, you could keep this part in there too, because I know that we got cut out or something, and that was when I was talking about it. And usually I take those as signs and stuff. So, yeah, I think I'll just pull it back just a bit. But to make it very simple, when you leave, it's no different as a near death. It's literally no different at all. The soul will leave the body, and you're 100% out. Even to the point where there is a point in no return, and I don't say that in a fearful way. It's like just with near-death experiences, there's an offer, sometimes, give or take. Even when I was 16 years old, I was given an offer to leave. At that time, at 16, I was given an offer to leave. And the only reason why I chose to come back is because I realized, okay, well, this is so temporary, not only temporary, but she showed me what was going to happen within my life. You could say the path. And that's pretty much what I'm doing now. So no difference at all there. And even so much so, there was a near-death experience person that I was working with closely. His name is David. And everybody could look up that there's a part 1 with him and a part 2. And he's had near-death experiences. He's had a heart issue. Heart completely stopped, died. He's done the out-of-body state, and he has confirmed as well. So it's not just coming from what I say, believe me, but that there's no difference. And he actually even said in his testimonial that he actually had more clarity in the out-of-body state because he was doing it of his own volition, his own will, versus just, near death. And then I coined the phrase. I was like, okay, well, that actually makes sense. Because when you have a near-death experience, what you're doing is, it's like, even though it's the same thing, but follow me through on this because I think it will make a lot of sense.
Please.
But when you're having a near-death experience, it's almost as if you are on a plane to go skydiving, and you are not told that you're going to be pushed out of the plane. You're giving no briefing, no map, nothing. And then you're in the plane to skydive and you have no idea, and all of a sudden someone pushes you out and you're just free falling, panicking, freaking out. As the controlled out-of-body state, you are briefed, okay, your body's going to shut down. It is going to feel like you're dying temporarily. Your soul's going to leave. This is what you're going to feel. The first things that you are probably going to see is things happening in real time. You'll see your physical body on the bed, and you'll be looking at your soul and your physical body, realizing that you have made the disconnection. Don't fear, don't panic, because you temporarily have this connection to the physical body that will start exciting the cells, pull you back in. You may also see beings. Understand, not to panic. These could be what you consider guides, or people who have been with you a very long time that you will then remember. You could access your soul records. You could see the entirety of this construct, even outside of it as well. You could do self-testings. And I've done group experiments on this too, where people in a group setting do these experiments where they write something as simple as a number 1 to 9. They put it on the table, come out of the body, bam, okay, I got the number. And then, to get the confirmation in just the real-time accuracy, okay, I'm actually seeing this. How could I possibly have seen that and been so accurate if it's not true? Even this has gone as far as even Kelly, because I really want to try to promote the people that are also doing this work as well. Because it's at first it was me just spreading the message, but there's so many more people now that have followed the principles and now are a part of it. I really think their names should be heard publicly to people and spread them as well, because these are people that have done the out of body state and have experienced the same thing. Kelly has her son was in the military. She's another one. She comes out of her body and then she projects herself to her son, being able to see exactly where he's at, see what he's thinking. And so there's quite a movement for the betterment of humanity, man, that I think people are totally unaware of still. And I think that this will create such a flame that it becomes unstoppable very, very, very soon, and to me, that gives me nothing but joy about it, because that's sort of what the vision that I had of just, here are the tools, here are the principles, like, please just share that message of the other side, because that's what wakes people up truly and completely. It wakes them back up to their home, and it wakes them back up to who they are. The confusion stops, the fear stops, and the fear's a big one. Yeah. So anyways, I'll stop there just because of how it just cut out and all. Yeah.
No, you're good. That's amazing.
That,
Hi there, guys. I wanted to take a quick moment just to introduce you to my one-to-one coaching. It's something that I deeply love doing. As you can tell, conscious conversation is such a massive part of my life. And having one-to-one, deep, meaningful conversations with people where I get to show up as your brother or as the coach or as your mentor has been such a gift for me personally, and a gift for lots of the people that I have supported on the journey of living a more spiritually empowered, spiritually powered, spiritually aligned life. You don't have to take my word for it. Here's some examples of people all around the world that have experienced profound transformations through this coaching experience.
Amrit is a fantastic coach.
In a few sessions, he got to a depth that I'd only experienced before working with certain medicines. And
he's gone through a lot of the struggles that you're probably facing. And Amrit's been a really strong, supportive figure in my journey.
In control of myself.
I'm kinder to myself.
I actually have that vision and a purpose.
I do feel like I'm a better version of myself already.
Amazing energy.
He was easy to talk to, which made me easy to trust him.
Working with Amrit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and really I was bouncing out of bed.
Whenever I get off the calls with Amrit, best money we've ever spent.
I would not recommend him because I don't want everyone to know about him, and then I won't be able to book him. If he gets too busy, I won't get my turn.
I would say absolutely.
There's no way you can work with Amrit for a period of time without being transformed.
So if you're considering him as a coach, do not hesitate because you won't be disappointed.
Alrighty, so hopefully that's inspiring your evolution onwards and upwards. And if you are so inspired to evolve, you can book in a one-to-one call with me directly at www.amrit.coach/life. And guys, if I can say so myself, I do think this is something quite special. Most people that I see building things online don't really work with people this deeply, this intimately, one-on-one as things start to grow, just because it is so time intensive. And yet I'm so deeply passionate about the transformation that comes from one-to-one coaching that just isn't available anywhere else. It would be my absolute honor and a pleasure to support your spiritual awakening, your spiritual path, your spiritual unfoldment. It is my life's work. I look forward to seeing you in the call. Back to today's podcast. There's 3 different thoughts pummeling me in the head right now. One of them is there's surely some people that are tuning in that are like disbelieving that this actually happens. There is another whole nother train of thought, which is some people are like, oh, this must be really entertaining that you're doing this. And the third train of thought, which is the one that I want to honor, is the one that is, this seems extremely important to you at this particular moment in time, especially to be shared with, to share with the world. Why is this so important?
Well, it's important because it wakes people up to their true selves again, their divinity, their home. So a lot of people are in a lot of confusion of false things, lies, deceptions that have been told to them their entire life. And there's a difference between me saying, okay, that's not necessarily true, but here's the path. This is the truth right here. And here I'll show you. This is the difference of what truth is and what truth is not. And you could say that, but then the message isn't really ever heard. It always has pushback. So the best way to do it is show somebody, okay, I don't have to speak of it that much, but just trust me on this. Leave the body and you will see it yourself. And it will be undeniable to you that your soul, who you are, lives on forever. You will remember your true state, your divinity, your home, and you will start to bring that here. You'll start walking that path in accordance of the path that you would be walking on the other side, of doing things in integrity, doing things in love.
Part of my responsibility as a podcast host wants to ask, is it safe to leave your body? Are there certain things that you need to be mindful of and all those sorts of things? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's safe. It's safe to leave your body. And this is part of the fear stuff that's very important to overcome, because for instance, this is how powerful your soul is. And a lot of people are just unaware of it. When somebody, let's just say 2 individuals are in love, one of them dies. Shortly after, if that person has the heart is broken, that person will die because that person will choose, I do not want to be here without that person. And its will of its soul will kill the body, pretty much. So when your soul makes a decision, a choice to do something, nothing will ever stop that from being so. It will not make sense in the medical field, because your soul is the ultimate dictator of things around you, even things in the physical body as well. You could start to command the cells to express themselves in a way of what you speak and you believe in the most, And this is also another important thing. All this stuff has been documented too. It's not just what I'm saying. The people have healed themselves from cancer, for instance. So there's been studies on this, where someone is given a false pill or just belief. They're given a false pill, but they believe it to work, and therefore, because their will and their belief does it for them, versus the other person that does not have that belief. And the doctor says you're going to die in 6 months. Therefore, you'll find exactly on 6 months that person dies because he wills it on itself. And that's important to understand, because you, to the best of your ability, you could start to will yourself. You could start to bring the soul in completely to start to express your will physically. Yeah. Yeah, I'll leave that one there too. The reason why I said I wanted to leave it there, because I don't want to go down a certain path, even though I feel that I should, that will end up taking things out of context for people. And I don't necessarily want to do that, but I want to make it clear that the placebo effect is real for a reason. And they call it placebo effect, and it's all based off belief. Because your soul is the overall dictator of how your cells express themselves, done in the rice experiment, done in the water experiment, even Jeff as well, is just, there's so many things that can be done that you remember again, and you start stepping into love. Yeah, but.
You also said thought constructs don't die.
Thoughts, your thoughts never die, man. Everything that you think right now is contained within your field. So this is why people, when they have out of body experiences, they, based off of, if they have not worked on their fears, or you could say have control over their field, they will typically experience a lot of nefarious things, subconscious things that have been there in the background for many, many years. And it's all projected forward for you to see. And people freak out because a lot of people don't want to face themselves. And you can never escape yourself. You always have to face it, and you have to face it fearlessly, in a state of not being in fear. Because just over that threshold of fear is where the doors of this construct open up to you again. Quite literally, man. So, I mean, and that's coming from direct experience of being in fear for years myself, trying to access certain things, not realizing that the state of fear was putting me in this, my will of my soul was putting me in this confined space, my own prison, that I was self-manifesting and self-creating. I was like, okay. And like, I literally got to this point. I said, kill my soul if you want to. I don't care anymore, because I'm sick of this fear. And then from that point, everything just wide open. Halls of Amente, heaven, seeing my passed away loved one, or not my passed away loved one, seeing my passed away Uncle Bob. You could say my passed away loved one, because I do love my Uncle Bob, but it's not my loved one. Seeing the other side taken out of the construct, so it's at that point that everything opened up, and that's super important for people to really understand, because nothing can touch the soul, nothing can entrap the soul unless you believe it to be so. And it's your belief in that being so will create your own self-imposed prison until you break free from the fear and you realize that you are an ultimate authority, just like every other soul, and you could honor each and every soul with their ultimate authority and their ability to create based off their will.
Inspired souls, just tuning in here, what is your biggest takeaway from today's episode? For me, it was the piece around the 3 laws: authenticity, unconditional love, and recognizing that that's the baggage that we accrue in this lifetime, touchwood, and actually our regrets are our pain on the other side. And so live as much as possible from the place of unconditional love and integrity. What are your takeaways from today's episode? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And also, if you have any questions of your own to ask Darius, please leave them in the comments below as well. I'll ask them when he returns next on the podcast, which hopefully would be sooner rather than later. Thanks again. Back to today's episode. There's many things in there. One of the things I wanted to pull on was oftentimes some people have these fears of other beings, other things, entities, whatever. And the key thing you're highlighting there is it's only your fear that makes it so.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It's your fear that's feeding it.
So I mean, right now you could control the physical body. Right now, someone could come over and harm your physical body, and there's nothing that you could do to stop that. But nothing can touch your soul unless you believe it and give your power away to make that to be so. Yeah.
It's been a really fun sort of exploration recently. I've been diverting, thanks to one of the teachers we had on the podcast, from saying dark night of the soul and just calling it the dark night of the mind, because your soul, yeah, now that like that clarity's in, it's kind of like your soul probably doesn't go through a dark night. It's just doing its thing. It's like, yeah. But tell us your thoughts and insights on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, you could experience hell on the other side too. And it comes from, hell comes from on the other side of you stepping out of love, unconditional love. When you step out of that, you start creating things, the opposite of that, which is a hellish experience.
Side or on this side? So when you step out of it, both. On this side? Or,
both.
Oh, both. Right.
Yeah, both. Yeah, because you like I said before, you cannot have ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation. So even your soul on the other side could step out of love, but then when you step out of love, you start to create your own hell. And this is where even when you get the near-death experience people too, based off their beliefs sometimes, based off their fear, it's fear. Like fear if they were brought up in Christianity and like you're going to go to hell forever if you do this. And based off of that as well, they temporarily experience their own prisons that I was talking about based off of fear until they say, I've had enough, I'm done with this. Or they reach out, and then when they break past the fear, then they pierce through, you could say, the ultimate veil of fear, and then they access all things again. So even them are experiencing their own temporary hell based off of fear, because fear is also, you could say, the opposite of love. When you step out of love, then you start fearing things as well. You start acting in greed. What is the abyss? A lot of people think the abyss is like, you get cast down into the abyss. The abyss is when the soul starts acting in a place outside of love and greed, because greed is an endless abyss that your soul then will experience. That's what the abyss is in that way, that context. So you could always step out of these things.
It does.
Okay.
But the part that I lost traction with was I thought the other side was completely unconditional love.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. But you could still create things outside of or stepping out of those things temporarily.
Temporarily.
Like, yeah. I mean, it's not a forever thing. I mean, you could say for the physical body, for the physical body here, when you step out of love, that starts to self-manifest itself into pain, fear, unloving. And so the body will start to express that as well. And stress in and of itself even kills the body too. Proven. And if you're in a state of love, it does not. But you could step out of that state, that field, on the other side as well, and you will experience what is considered a hellish experience. So it's reflected. Everything is in a state of unconditional love. Yes, that's true. But you could step out of that just due to your will and the freedom of the soul. Does that make sense at all, or is it?
It does. No, okay. You brought me along. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
The body, the soul, vitality. Fasting is something, touch wood, that you're a proponent for. I'm obsessed with it. Touch wood. I'd love to hear your thoughts of, just a certain level of vitality that we experience in the day-to-day, but then also soul-enriched vitality, if I can call it that.
Through fasting.
Through connecting your body more, like allowing your soul to animate your body more and more. Maybe fasting's one of the practices, maybe you've got more. But this out-of-body experience, it seems like it gives you an opportunity to be more soul-connected. Is there an element of vitality that enriches your body with the more you open up to those parts of you?
Yeah, I mean, you're always very soul connected. It's more of like you're just you remember again, and that very remembrance is a way as well. You could say that is the way of truly the straightest arrow of getting there, because as soon as you realize that and realize the other side, your true state, then you're pretty much questioning and waking up to everything at that point. Now there's other things. You could say there's fasting, but fasting can do it, but that's more of cleaning the body and trying to bring the body back to its state of the motor and everything working properly, but if one truly desires to fully you could say awaken is remembering the other side, remembering your home, because you don't come from here. I don't come from here. No one comes from here. They come from somewhere else. And so when you just wake up to that, I think that is the quickest way, the most direct path to truly waking up. If that answers your question.
It does. What are some of the social connotations of us not feeling like we're home? Is that where consumerism, in your opinion, kind of comes from a little bit as well? Like we're trying to plug a hole that actually can't be plugged on this side?
Well, the state is so the reason why I say that is because right now your body is in a state of it's going to die, it's decaying. So you don't experience that when you are in your soul. So here you experience all the decay, the death of the body, maintenance. Like when I say home, that's stepping back into, you could say, abundance, being infinite. Like nothing is like it is here in that way of death of things. It's life of things constantly. So yeah.
It's interesting feeling into these conversations with you because the fear of the other side just gets transposed with an intrigue. It's really interesting. We leave here, we go home, we choose to reincarnate, and is that what's going on with that? Like, why do we consistently choose to come back and have this particular experience if we've had it once before? Is it we want to hang out with different soul pods? Do we have soul family? Like, what's going on with the whole reincarnation thing, in your opinion?
Well, so some people don't. Yeah. So it's not like this is where you go into the karma thing and you're forced to reincarnate and soul trap and all that stuff. No one's forced to come back here. So, based off of all of the things that I've accessed, as well, I wasn't here many times myself, and many people haven't been here many times, so, when you go over like out as well, let's just say the incarnation doesn't exist on the other side in the way that it's experienced here. We incarnate here, we forget, we go through, you could say we forget our home, etc. But when you're there, when you step into, let's just say, another universe, another construct, you're stepping into that with your soul in full remembrance of everything. And so, yeah, and this is why I stated before what I was told. And I bring it up a lot. This was the universe, the construct that was created to experience that, which we're not the only one of its kind in that way, because it's it's not quite like that through what I've seen.
So, in your interpretation, the word Maya and what you understand of it potentially.
I don't know what it is. So you have to clarify.
Okay. So in the Hindu scriptures, they call this reality that we're experiencing Maya, but it's also it's I don't want to say incorrectly translated, but it's a multi-dimensional word that's 2D translated into illusion is probably the way to articulate it. Yeah, but also it's not really, because illusion also sounds like holographic, like you wave your hand through it and it's not really there, as opposed to actually there are some real tangible things from the experience that you can actually, your soul can imbue, which is actually quite the blessing. But yeah, anyway, I was just, the question was going to be your thoughts on the concept of
well, it's going to be, I would agree with that. I mean, this is an illusion, but with that being said, it's not an illusion that this is not real. This is real. You are having the physical experience that your soul will then take with it when you leave here. You don't forget this experience. It adds to you. So you could say the ultimate currency on the other side, even though there is no currency, but the ultimate currency of wealth is the experience and the wisdom that the soul has, because then it could speak upon things, it could speak upon based off that experience. Yeah. So yeah, this this is an illusion in that aspect of, you know, you actually are not experiencing your true soul divinity in that sense. Because if you were, right now you would be able to do anything you desire with a snap of a finger, because whatever you think is instantly there in front of you. That's the power of your soul once you leave. But here, due to time and etc., and yeah, I won't go into all of it, but you know what I mean.
Switching gears a little, you going back on the other side, I'd love to hear some stories of some of the interesting things that you've experienced, some of the interesting things that you've come back with. If you could, sneaky little request, I'd love to hear about, I heard you say somewhere along the way, Nikola Tesla, the 369, and how baptism actually works with, like, that was fascinating. Where did you pick that up from? I got so many questions, but you don't have to share that particular story. You can share whichever story you want. But that one, as the engineer in me, was once again, just like, oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll just skip over the first one, like, you know, things that because I feel like I've answered that one already, or I felt like I've answered it in many other ones, but I'll skip to the 369 one if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So the 369 stuff is stuff that I've accessed within the halls of Amrit. So that's a place that I've been many times. It's actually the most frequent places that I go to out of my body, and that's where. So they have back in that period of time, they had certain beds, and those beds you were able to, you could say, heal, project consciousness into other forms, and I'll leave it as simple as that. But in terms of baptism, what I was showing is that when you 369 with Tesla was a code, a sequence of events, or a sequence of frequencies. Yeah. And essentially what this was is it was a set of frequencies to put the body back to its base template. You could say reactivating certain things within the body. And it's like, it's mirrored off of these things. And I just put them in numbers and stuff. It's 111 equals 3, 222 equals 6, and then 333 equals 9. And so you could say that is the first pair of clusters within a particular sequence, creating the 369 cluster. Three sequences of frequencies, one cluster creating 369. Does that make sense so far? Okay. And then you could keep on multiplying this as well. So you could go 444 equals 3 when you add up the double digits as well, comes to 3. And then 555 comes to 6. 3. And then 666 comes to 9. Yeah. And then that's another set of frequencies targeted. And then again, you repeat the cycle, Even so much so, you could even go past 369 as well. You'll find that even certain frequencies, and I know I'm probably going to mispronounce this one because I was looking this up, but I'm just going to say the flower of life, one of those symbols that is very well known. When you look at that particular frequency, whatever that hertz is, I don't remember off the top of my head, but when you add all those together, it comes to either a 3, 6, or 9, and that you could say that's one sequence within the three frequencies. And when you complete that cluster of frequencies, and you say you complete the circuit, because even with the heart as well. So right now, the heart operates off of three clusters in that way. You have a positive, negative, and an in between. It creates a toroidal field. Toroidal field has 3. So you're completing that circuit. The same thing with the construct. This known universe, has a positive, negative, and an in between. It's a complete toroidal field. Yeah. And so what you're doing with these numbers is you're actually just mimicking exactly what the physical body is doing and what the construct is doing to realign it back to a certain state, pretty much. Does that
yeah, that explains the Nikola Tesla. Yeah, that explains the Nikola Tesla aspect of it. And is that what you were saying before? Baptism, you won't explain? Is that because I was trying to understand? Like at the moment, there was the energy going in that understanding the threes somehow led to how we reprogram water with our thoughts and minds. But actually, there's like a divine plan behind. But sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, no, you're good. So that particular set of frequencies, you could say, helps with the connection again of the, like I said, putting the body back to its state, and you could say, just let's scientific words, DNA. Yeah, you're rewriting these things in creating this better connection for the soul to fully fuse into the central nervous system. So that's basically what that is doing, and that was the origins of baptism, essentially, was to reprogram the body, reborn again in that way. And you can say even cleaning your sins, if that's what biblically they say, yeah, because you would be, what is a sin? A sin is in essence, a sin is doing things out of love, but it's also doing things against yourself that will harm you and harm others. That's so you're basically ridding the body of sin, which is ridding the body of pain, disease, etc., because all those, even disease is a sin on the body, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I'm not religious, by the way, but I'm just, I think it's the best word to use in context to baptism or baptism. Yeah. So it's, yeah. Even when you look at the will and belief of the soul too, you don't necessarily even need, if the soul's in a certain state of mind, state of frequency here, you don't even need those numbers per se, because your soul, your body is the ultimate piece of technology that if you were to speak to it and command it, your cells will start to express themselves in that way. It's no different from when you're in a certain environment. If people are in a certain environment, it's actually proven that your cells start to express themselves in the environment that you're in. Yeah. So when you change the environment that you're in, and you also start speaking with intention, your cells will start to express themselves in that way, pretty much. And I've stated this in the beginning with water and stuff. You could literally speak through water, love, I hate you, many different words, and the water will start to take on the shape and start to make crystals, if you freeze it, of that which you spoke to it. Now, if your words could do that to water, what would make you think that it cannot be done to your body? What would make you think that you can't do that to your cells? If you could speak to water and say, I love you, and the water changes, what would make you think that doing that to yourself wouldn't have the same effect? What would make you think that even the way you feel, truly feel, wouldn't have that same effect? What would make you think that your environment of where you're at wouldn't have that effect on you? And so this has been so well understood inside of the systems. And so they do this through music, playing certain frequencies through music, unconsciously, people listening to certain things, doing certain things, unaware of that which they're not knowing that which they're doing to themselves. Because as I said before, if you could do that to water, you could do that to yourself. And if you could just truly believe in that and understand that fully and completely, then I'll leave it there. But yes, things will start to be done to you that you would classify as biblical events, in short.
Thank you. Leaning into remembering, was the human species at large potentially more aware of the types of conversations that you're having in yesteryear? Have we lost some of this information, or is this new information in your opinion? How does this all place?
No. This is not new information. This was all very well understood back in time, back in the history of this place.
How long ago are we talking? Like, since we've lost memory of such technologies, if you want to call it that, is it called it?
Yeah. No, I get you. So I'm always very careful when I share this. So, I always tend to go on the farther end of this. But I'm going to go on the farther end because I've said this before, but just for this, I feel, just to go on the farther end of 2,000 years. Let's go 2,000 years was when people talk about the flood or the reset or the galactic wars or the wars of heaven or the wars on earth, the earthly realm, all that was happening at the exact same time. Back in, you could say back in his history, his story, because it's, this information was known to everybody. So much so they understood so much of the nature of reality of this place and this construct that the very structures that they built were built off of that. Built off the sun, the sun following this path. The sun actually follows a path of a infinity 8. Yeah. And it's 23.4 degrees to Tropic of Capricorn to Tropic of Cancer. And it follows that path. And this is how they were able to, all through the structures, all through the pyramids, you'll see that the sun is perfectly timed based off certain cycles and certain event. I call them event markers. The inevitabilities of this construct that will always happen regardless. Yeah. And so they understood this construct so well. They even understood the stars, dimensional spaces, portal access points, 12 stargates. And they understood baptism, to where the water and the frequency that was being resonated within the structures themselves, you could say the earthly realm was experiencing heaven on earth. Yeah. So this isn't, what I'm saying isn't new information. It's not just information where it's just like, this is brand new. This is very old, very well-known information, even information on the other side with the stuff that I've experienced through the realms and through the records. So it's just people are.
Why did we forget it?
Well, that goes into a topic of a discussion that I don't really feel I want to go into in this particular interview, because I have answered it in certain segments, but it opens up such a can of things that I will actually be here for another half an hour just going into that.
For part two. Okay. Yeah, cool.
That goes into a lot of things, because I try to be very careful, with certain things that they don't get taken out of context. But yeah, I won't. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay.
I appreciate you honoring. Yeah. Question was going to be where we're currently placed in time. So when you're traveling through the construct out of body, you said you've been shown the nature of time. My mind boggles at that one and gets really intrigued.
Okay.
Because some people say time moves forward, some people say it's moving backwards, some people I don't really understand much. But what were you shown about the nature of? What do you mean by that?
Okay, yeah. So time we think is a very linear thing, and it's not. We experience it based off individuals, like I said, because not every individual is only accessing the 0. whatever percent of the light spectrum. Some people do experience more than that, and they have activated certain things within their body to access even more in the physical body as well. But so we experience time in that fashion, majority of people. But when you're out of your body, you see time for what it really is. You could experience the past, present, and potential futures. Yeah. Now, potential futures are this. I've shared this a long time ago through, I don't even know what interview, because I've shared so much information through other stuff. But this was the best version of breaking it down for me, of how time works, to best articulate it and explain it. How time is experienced on the other side, or how you could view it, is, imagine a deck of cards. So right now, if I take a deck of cards and I spread out those deck of cards, we will experience time based off from this card to this card to this card to this card. So from event to event to event, very linear. But you could view time on the other side by taking those deck of cards, putting them all together, and you could look down through the center and you could see all happening, all of things playing out all at once, potentials, past, present. And that's how it was shown to me. And that's how I explain it when people ask that question, because that's how time could be, or you could view time like that. Yeah. And this is where it goes into, you know, I've seen many times potentialities of time playing out. You know, and I've seen, okay, this is going to happen, and it happened, versus, you know, this is going to happen. It was slightly off, slightly different, because you're accessing a lot of potentials, and you could start to navigate with integrity of yourself, and also integrity for that information, of making sure that you are in that state of integrity when you do access those things as well. So
how does
does that make sense for you as the way that you sort of think of things? Okay,
it does help. It opens up another question around potentials, though. How do you access some potentials and leave behind others? Is it just where you're vibing at in terms of frequency, or what's going on there?
Yeah. Okay. So when you access potentials, it's typically done through your own field. That's typically it. So, I mean, you could access world event potentials, and I have done that before. Some people even have done that, that are just doing the practice of this, and they're like, oh yeah, I've seen this and I've seen that, and they were potentials, and it was very accurate. But for majority, 80% of people, when they're experiencing that, it's going to be through their own field, their own potentials of events. Yeah. And the people that they're associating themselves with or connected to, because you know, we hold a field all around us, same with everybody else. And so how it's a experience typically is that you'll come out of your body, and you'll be out of your body physically. You could see your physical body on the wherever you're at, and you actually see, let's just say, a version of yourself or a version of another person. It looks almost like dreamlike, because it's like you could tell that you are seeing potentiality, and you'll see them starting to walk and do things as they were physically doing things. Then when you come back into your body, you could either say, you could not say anything and watch it play out, or you could tell somebody else, you know. So it's like, oh, I've seen this. And that's sort of how it's experienced, you know. And it's pretty even for myself, seeing it many times, like I was just like, this is still very, like, holy crap, you know. Like it's exciting in a lot of ways, and that's where you need to I'm very, very big on the unconditional love and integrity when you do this, because the moment you step out of that, I mean, man, you're the only person that you can ever escape, and the unforgivable sin is a sin you can't forgive yourself for. So, I mean, you need to be with the understanding of who we are and who you are on the other side, to make sure that you are in that state always. Yeah. The moment you start stepping out of that, I mean, you start creating your versions of hell in that aspect, you know. Because okay.
Knowing what you're sharing, why wouldn't we forgive ourselves?
So we do, but the reason why I said the unforgivable sin is a sin that you can't forgive yourself for, because some individuals, some souls, based off the things that they have done here, and knowing of that which they do, still carry pain on the other side. And I did say that everything's in a state of unconditional love, but you do still carry pain. The greatest pain that I've ever experienced, the greatest, was on the other side, which is the reason why I'm doing this. Not because out of fear or any of those things. It was because I was in a place where I fully know of that which I return back to and that which I know I should do with integrity for myself, time, and integrity for the information, and sharing that accordingly. And this even goes back into, let's just go near-death experience. A mother dies, and that mother was very in the know of things that it has done to a child. Yeah. When that mother dies, and let's just say that that child has a near-death experience and visits that mother is saying, I am so sorry, because it carries that regret. The thing is the regrettable is the unforgettable on the other side. And yes, you can forgive yourself, but don't think that if you take things here and regret that you are going to forget that, because you will not. That is the pain that you carry on the other side in doing things outside of love. And if I were to, let's just say, if I were to leave this realm entirely, and if my one message was to, over all else, it would be, make sure that you are always acting to the best of your ability at all times in integrity and unconditional love, because then you will never have to face yourself in regret of that which you have not done, in knowing. Yeah. So I hope that wraps it up and gives the context around it, because like I said before, you can forgive yourself, and it always comes to that point anyways, where you eventually forgive yourself, but it's not a forgiveness of pretending a forgiveness. It's one of coming to a full realization. And sometimes souls on the other side have to wait until they apologize, until they could actually forgive themselves, to where that individual, let's just say for the context of the story, where the child says, I forgive you. And then therefore that mother could then relieve herself.
Hi there, guys. I wanted to take a quick moment just to introduce you to my one-to-one coaching. It's something that I deeply love doing. As you can tell, conscious conversation is such a massive part of my life. And having one-to-one, deep, meaningful conversations with people where I get to show up as your brother or as the coach or as your mentor has been such a gift for me personally, and a gift for lots of the people that I have supported on the journey of living a more spiritually empowered, spiritually powered, spiritually aligned life. You don't have to take my word for it. Here's some examples of people all around the world that have experienced profound transformations through this coaching experience.
Amrit is a fantastic coach.
In a few sessions, he got to a depth that I'd only experienced before working with certain medicines. And
He's gone through a lot of the struggles that you're probably facing, and Amrit's been a really strong, supportive figure in my journey.
In control of myself.
I'm kinder to myself.
I actually have that vision and a purpose.
I do feel like I'm a better version of myself already.
Amazing energy.
He was easy to talk to, which made me easy to trust him.
Working with Amrit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and really I was bouncing out of bed.
Whenever I get off the calls with Amrit, best money we've ever spent.
I would not recommend him because I don't want everyone to know about him, and then I won't be able to book him. If he gets too busy, I won't get my turn.
I would say absolutely.
There's no way you can work with Amrit for a period of time without being transformed.
So if you're considering him as a coach, do not hesitate, because you won't be disappointed.
Alrighty, so hopefully that's inspiring your evolution onwards and upwards. And if you are so inspired to evolve, you can book in a one-to-one call with me directly at www.amrit.coach/life. And guys, if I can say so myself, I do think this is something quite special. Most people that I see building things online don't really work with people this deeply, this intimately, one-on-one as things start to grow, just because it is so time intensive. And yet I'm so deeply passionate about the transformation that comes from one-to-one coaching that just isn't available anywhere else. It would be my absolute honor and a pleasure to support your spiritual awakening, your spiritual path, your spiritual unfoldment. It is my life's work. I look forward to seeing you in the call. Back to today's podcast. Could that potentially be the some of the context around, I know you said karma's not like what we thought it was before, but potentially the regrets, is that somebody could potentially want to come back and do it better, sort of thing? Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about karma, karma is done as a forceful thing. So you will be, based off my understanding of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But based off my understanding of karma, and I don't really read much or anything, but based off what people have told me about karma, you should do this, then you're going to be forced to come back, or you're going to have to pay back, and etc. It's not necessarily like that. The soul is never fully forced, but at the same token, with that, if you are in regret here, that it doesn't change. Yeah, like you still carry that. So I don't know if that just makes things more convoluted, or if it
a little bit. I'll explain why. Because karma, I think karma, I do see where you're coming from with, but again, I think that's the description. And pardon me, I say this respectfully.
No, all good, all good.
Karma,
I've asked you to clarify.
Yeah, that's almost karma. That's once again like the Maya being the flattened out version of it. Karma links to our sanskars, and sanskars is like our tendencies. We have certain tendencies, which actually runs all the way as deep as our desire. So it actually, actions we've taken in the past influence the desires we take in the future. And it's literally the cleanest word I could probably use is accruing. It's just an accruing. People think you accrue karma. It's actually you're just accruing as you're going through, like lessons we accrue, things like messages, like, you know, as we're going on our way, we accrue stuff. Like it's just stuff we're doing. But what we've accrued, like attracts like kind of vibe. And so I'm imagining, and this is where, you know, you've accrued to the other side. Back to the nature of my question was you've accrued to the other side, and then you've landed here, and you're kind of like, oh, I see where I did certain things wrong. I'd love maybe a do-over, you know, to sort of see if I can give that another red hot crack, you know, and then lo and behold, you forget everything again and you start again. You probably just make the same mistakes again. I shouldn't say that. Stop saying that. Touch wood. But yeah, I don't know. That was the nature of my question. I don't think karma is a force. I think karma is something that it's more. It's way more subtler than that. It's something that it's an accruing of our past that's also influencing our future, but it's not like a debt in as many ways as people think of it. Have I explained it correctly? I don't know. I just
I believe I'm following you. And if you are if people are saying karma in the way of you have to repay this, you're forced to, then that's no different from the biblical religion side of things, where it's just another set of forceful things done to you, and that's not necessarily that's not necessarily the truth in that way. But if what you're explaining with karma in the context of it is that if you are in the regrettable becomes the unforgettable, and you carry that through, and that is the same, you know, then yes, you could just say that's another karma, if that's how you are.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Explaining it in any ways. Yeah. But that's not my understanding based off how I hear other people explain it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect.
The context of me, I guess, is growing up Indian, just being steeped in like Indian heritage and all that spiritual nature. So those words.
No, it's fine.
So
it's all
quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we unpacked the nature of time. We unpacked forgiveness. This particular moment in time, it seems like more and more people are waking up. Even just the work that you're like, because there is an offering where people may potentially step into this experience themselves. Even the fact that we're having a conversation like this and we're sharing it with the world. Do you reckon people are shifting? Like something's afoot, something's going on at large, like people are waking up? And if so, where does that fit into what the construct's up to, or what the angels and God in the different realms across the 12 different realms is up to? Is there something happening at this particular moment in time?
Yeah. And I know, like I said, I'm usually very light with this because I don't like to put people into hope and things like that, because I like to make it clear before I say what I say. None of what I'm about to say is a form of hope harvesting, or even putting somebody into a state of not doing something. Yeah, where like you hear something and you're like, okay, then I just do
I'm
nothing.
relieved. I can put my feet up. Yeah.
So that needs to be really clearly understood and explained before I say what I'm going to say. But this whole thing does come to a state of completion and remembrance of everything again. And that goes into, you said before, are we in the process of souls waking up, and everybody's waking up, and everybody's waking up. Everybody is going to see it. Yeah. And so I've shared this before, you're already getting disclosure stuff. And sometimes I would just be like, not really going to speak about that yet. Sometimes I'll share it privately with people, etc., just because I'm very careful with how to not put people in that state. Yeah. But yeah, there's going to come a time, and I say this with absolute truth in myself. You know, if people need me to, are religious or Catholic, I'll put my hand up, put it on the Bible. If you are, have other religion, whatever that is, then that's what I'll do with stating what I'm about to state, because it's, there's going to come a time where things are revealed to people, and when those things are revealed to people will be a biblical event on many fronts. You're looking at races in a sense of individuals, what people call ETs, but they're not even ETs. These are beings from even the out of body state, like your angels and things like that, where things are disclosed in that way for people. Some of the original bodies, you could say, in Antarctica. There's an Antarctic treaty for many different reasons, and also one of those reasons is also hiding a lot of the pyramids, structures, you could say, craft that are there, technology that are there, and all this at some point will be disclosed to the people. You're going to even see a lot of the control structures to control humanity also start to be exposed, and they have been being exposed little bits over time, but like that's just going to continue, because where humanity heads is complete freedom. You could say a heaven on earth again. And that is the final event marker of what I know that will happen and come true. There are many different variables and potentialities of time of navigating that, but I know that is the marker, that is the destination, and it doesn't matter what happens in between that hits. And when it hits, let me tell you, it's going to hit hard, because everybody's going to see it again. You're going to get disclosure on the information of technology that has been suppressed from people for so many years. There's free energy devices that out there that have been buried inside the patent system. There's even technology that I've seen in my out of body state that they're actually using to this day that are still suppressed to the population, that would make humanity's life so much more easier. When you talk about replicators and stuff too, even though we haven't talked about that, but when you bring up that term too, understand this, they have the ability, and you could Google search this, they have the ability to clone an animal. They've done this already. And correct me if I'm wrong. You've seen that before?
I've heard of this. Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Okay.
It's like decades old. It's like 10 years ago that's happened. Yeah.
Long time ago. And so they have the ability to clone animals. They have the ability to replicate food at you could say, the cellular structure, and replicating that food. And they have technology to make a true Garden of Eden on Earth. That's the technology that they have, physical tech. So all these things that have been suppressed, if you are able to clone a dog, you are also able to clone and replicate other things. Yeah, you're able to reprogram the certain cells within the body as well. And this is a technological front, yes, but the most important thing is what will be remembered again. And when we hit that state, is that your body is also that piece of technology. Yeah. And you could see why I stated in the beginning, I'm very hesitant to say things like this, because I'm not putting people in hope or hope harvesting or hope of something to come. This is just, yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
And
that
so
would be...
sorry, I know that you're going to say something, but there were certain like events you could say that took place in the past. And you could say what happens here is actually even more biblical in a sense than that, what happens. And like I said, I'm not going to go through all of the little details and hope this and hope that, but it's just everybody does at a point in time, and it's already happening slowly through all of this stuff. What happened 4 years ago, etc. It's being dripped out, and it's going to continue. Yeah. So it's, yeah. And there's a lot of stuff still being hidden from the people, but I based off the things that I've seen in the outer body, as I've stated, it's some things people won't even believe, and sometimes it's best not to even speak about it until it's actually shown. Yeah. So I'll just leave it. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, no, that was
in context to everything. And I know, the interview and stuff like that, and this is that, but like very, very much appreciate if that's still held within context. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That should be where the episode ends, by the way. But I told you at the beginning, my gregarious nature gets the better of me sometimes. There's this, I couldn't let you go without asking this question about 12 and 13. Everywhere we look, we see 12. Everywhere we look, we see 12. 12 months should have been 13. You mentioned it yourself, the DNA helix, it's actually 12. 13.
And I say 13.
There's realm, there's 12, and then there's 13.
13, yes.
Yeah, so what's so special about the number 13 in particular, and why are we ostracized out of it into 12?
So I say 12 because it's basically, even though it is 13, but I say because a lot of people, 12 months or whatever, like they could, but there's originally 13 months to a year. There's 13 strands of DNA, scientifically what they call DNA. There's 13 strands of them. There's 13 dimensional structures within the brain. And the 13th is more of the containing field of things. And just like when you go through I'll just say it to make it short and concise, when you go through the 12 heavens, you also have the 13th, which is the container of those 12 heavens. Yeah. So everything from the originally supposed to be 13 months is all perfectly mirrored off of 13 months, 13 strand of DNA, 13 realms. Yeah. So that's why I go back and forth between 12, 13. I say 12 is supposed to be 13 because it's 13. But some people are like, well, I don't get that. I just stick with 12 sometimes to get the the
point across. No, I appreciate it, because even like I was looking at a calendar for the year with 13 months, and the first of every month starts on a Monday, and it's just like everything just works super well if it was split into 13, and yet we've somehow chopped it out to 12, and there's certain mystery schools which elicit that there was 13 zodiacs, not 12, but yeah.
Taking out the sign of the serpent and everything. So yeah. So, but anyway. Yes.
Epic. Thank you so much for, thank you so much for the conversation today, taking the time to be here with us, sharing yourself so abundantly, so openly. Really, really means a lot. But also, Darius, in particular, in this case, this is, it's hard to even call it your life's work. This is your life. I would even go as far as saying, and yeah, it just means a lot to, just see what's driving you. I'll put like I said to you, the mission that people can actually find on your website, which is, something you've thought long and hard about. I will share that in the comments and the show notes below for people to connect into what really is a piece of the energy that's driving your work and what you want communicated out there. So all of that to say, thank you for your time today, but also thank you for you. Really appreciate all that you're doing and all that you are, brother. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Cheers, man. I appreciate the platform to share it. So
I actually took away some of the most grounded stuff, which was unconditional love, integrity, and authenticity, kind of being the three key things, and like you said, what you cross over with, those regrets, and it's like that will actually be the pain that you carry. And for me, that was like, no shit. So, integrity, authenticity, unconditional love to the best of your ability, like etch them on your heart because you don't get out scot-free, bro. You're going to be carrying, that's your old baggage. You better don't want to, I don't want any check-in shit, bro. I just want to board the flight, with my little Game Boy Classic and just set on out,
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
So no, that was really cool researching, and I can appreciate when you get something like that feels so clean, so clear, so integrated that making a donation just it makes super sense, bro.
When I completely leave, I just want to make sure I've done everything to the best of my ability in that state.
Yeah.
You know what sleep paralysis is? When you train the body to do that, that is the very direct path to just you're out every single time, and that's so there's like two different ways that I teach that. I teach how to do it consciously, or I teach that how to be triggered unconsciously, and then you're conscious, and then you pop out and get rid of fear and all those things. But like if you look at sleep paralysis stuff, man, and if that's the number one point, that if you get to consciously without fear, you will leave your body every single time.
And that's what you teach via a course, right?
Basically, when I host workshops, I'll go through them.
Are the workshops up there in person or the workshops online?
Workshops are online now. I thought about doing it at some point in the future, doing it in person and just getting like, but it would have to be about a 7-day or 3-day retreat or something like that, because like you have to get people practicing it more than just one day. And my goal with that was to get a group, let's just say 10 people that I know that have been practicing with me for a long time that are very proficient at it, with a whole other group of people that are practicing it. And then they all come out of their body able to target things in real time. And then documenting that, like properly documenting that into like some form of documentary.
That would be so trippy. Would people interface with each other outside of the body?
Well, it's already happened. It's already. This is the. Yes.
What?
Yes. That's what.
Jeez,
that's why I started off small. I started off very small with getting people to focus on numbers, and because it's something that I did. I was like, to prove to people, like inside my house. I was like, okay, let me show you. We did it 4 or 5 days in a row. They write a number, bam, bam, bam. And so I did it on a group scale just to get people to realize that you can see real-time events. And when that was locked in a group setting, and they understood that they were actually seeing those numbers in the out-of-body state, well, that wasn't possible for them to not know unless they were out of their body actually physically seeing it. And then they come back and then I'm like, okay, Now we're going to expand this slowly.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go, you see? So yeah, it's sort of, you progress it like that. And so then you get people that are able to slowly over time accurately see things happening in real time in the out of body state as well. And that's happened a lot, quite a lot, man. And so, I try to keep it a little bit suppressed a little bit, if that, it's not necessarily suppressing it, but not over promoting that in that way, because I'm very careful of how.
One of my teachers says what's sacred is also secret, and they sound similar for a reason. That's kind of what I'm getting from you.
So yeah, because there's already lots of people. I'll just say a handful of people. So it's pretty remarkable. And I think I did say that in the beginning too of our chat. I said, this is going to start a flame and a fire that will never be stopped. Like you can say you're gonna see a massive movement from this, because this literally is, one, people realize this, and as people have in the group setting, I mean, this becomes unstoppable in that way, because then you have people that are accurately able to do this and perform this in a state of at will to demonstrate and show other people. And then that's where it continues and it continues and it continues. And I've done it that way. So I'm not necessarily I've created a mission around it. So I'm not the single head of the target, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's not just, Messiah kind of thing. The other interesting piece about that though is like, there's so many interesting pieces about that. But and all of a sudden, if people collectively start to wake up to being beyond the boundaries of their own skin, I can't help but wonder what it does for these artificial state line boundaries and all this other random shit that we're like warring over and stuff, bro. Just do you know what I mean? Like that, for me, it's just like a big fat whitewater eraser going all over like some of that stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm being hella optimistic because I do run the risk of being like that, but I don't know.
No. It quite literally. If it's changed me, and it has changed other people too, to the point where I've dedicated my whole existence here to that, because I know that power of it, and people are experiencing it, and they're like, whoa, like this is what they're talking about, and they experience it. I mean, there's a group of people that are, and it's the reason why I was bringing up the names, because it's just like I want to make sure that people know
who these people are.
There's a group of people that are actually starting to do this very proficiently, and it should be recognized.
How long did it take them?
So sometimes it's I think one of them, Stefano, for instance. Stefano's a good testimonial. It took him a few months to do it. There were some people it took them like a week, and another person took them a year. So it's all dependent based off, because it's like a practice. And then once you get it, you just get it, If
you're going into sleep paralysis, are you getting rest in the night, or is it like you've got a day job and a night job now?
It does. When you do it a lot, this is why I drink salt water a lot. Which is, because it's like, the more that you do it, you tend to overload the central nervous system. And the only thing that I found to mitigate that is salt water, or just targeting a certain thing, doing something for a week period of time, then taking 2-3 weeks off.
Rest. Super good to connect, bro. Be well. We'll continue to stay in touch. Big love, brother.
All right, cheers.
You, inspired soul, you made it through to the end of another incredible episode. thank you so much for your inspirations to evolve. It is such an honor to be your brother walking by your side on this path. I just want to take a quick moment out to thank all of you that are subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much for your incredible love and support. Like I say, everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to this channel. Thank you so much. And to all of you that haven't yet subscribed, please do take a moment. As I'm saying the word subscribe, the subscribe button below is lighting up in the colors of the Inspired Evolution. Please take a moment, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon that pops up right after in the same button. Your subscription helps us champion love, positivity, and wisdom around the world. Thank you so much in advance for your support. Now, on screen now, I'm going to pop on an episode. Christian Sundberg has memory of pre-birth experience. He remembers what it was like before he was born, and he's retained that memory. Really fascinating conversation, even if I can say so myself, about being pre-birth awareness about where your souls are in between lives as well. So not similar, but not too dissimilar either. Christian Sundberg on a pre-birth experience. Also another couple of episodes, we've interviewed quite a few different near-death experiences and people that have studied over 5,000 near-death experiences just to, just unpeek behind the veil a little bit deeper, touch wood. Even medical intuitives that have actually, they had a near-death experience, came back with medical capabilities and stuff. Super fascinating stuff. Touch wood from, even if I say so myself. So episodes on screen for you to continue your inspirations to evolve. Go on, take your pick, make your click, take your pick. I'll see you in the next episode. Go on, click on. I'll see you there.